Thank you, and good morning. So, what have you got in you today? Strength like a mountain, is it? Or tears like the raindrops? And or? Sorry? Got chills. I got chills. So I invite you in a moment to say hello to people, but I invite you to think about what you've got in you. What's in you? What's coming in with you today? Is it joy? Is it meh? Is it something else? What's coming in with you? And as you greet and say hello to each other, if you're willing, I invite you to share just kind of one of the things that's come in with you today. So if you'd help make sure everyone around you is greeted and welcomed, please. Thank you. Thank you for risking that. So if the folks who are here, especially the folks that are very comfortable here, would help folks who are arriving make sure they have space. So if there are spaces on in an inner seat, sometimes we can be friendly by opening up an aisle seat. So if you'd work together to help people feel welcome and at home. I'm the Reverend Kevin Tarsa, privileged to serve this congregation. And this is my reminder to myself to turn off my cell phone. So I'll use this opportunity to add that to your list as well. And today, this congregation's very newest member, who is a member actually from a long time ago, Carol Grant, will offer the land acknowledgement.
Good morning. With this basket of black oak acorns, we express our heartfelt desire that the Nisenan people may recover more and more of their rich cultural heritage. We commit to support them in these and other efforts in whatever ways we can, under their guidance and at their request. A specific way in which we can offer support is by contributing to their Homeland Return campaign as they raise money to purchase some of their ancestral land. Right now, there is a matching grant for this purchase. Please consider a donation.
And your board member, Jeff Gold, board member among many other wonderful things, offers our chalice lighting, is lighting of the symbol of our tradition.
To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light by Lindsay Bates. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, and our lives.
And so our chalice is lit, and we send the same light with our youngest ones on their way to Kids Connection. Today, that light carried by Lindsay Dunkel as we sing "This Little Light of Mine."
Good morning. Aw, here we are gathered, sheltered from the spring rains and now the sun, at the Unitarian Universalist community of the mountains, or perhaps you're joining from near and far via Zoom. Wherever you are, we are sharing this moment, this space together. I am Carol Nimick, the worship associate for today's service. This space is filled with more than just ourselves. Imagine, for we are each accompanied by our shadows, the unconscious parts of ourself that are hard to access and hard to talk about, because they're filled with deep emotion. We are simply not aware of these shadows, both of light and dark shade, but they are nevertheless stirring within us. We might have inherited the shadows from our ancestry, or from the culture at large, or from early childhood traumas. These shadows are companions on our way. All shadows are invited here today. The shadows we keep quiet, secret, and deep within. The ones that we have acknowledged and now are blessing us. All of us, all parts of ourselves are welcomed regardless of color, race, sexual preference. All have a seat here. We are glad you came with all the acknowledged and the unacknowledged parts of yourself. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol. I've been a member here at UUCM since just before COVID. So in 2020, I joined and spent the first couple of years Zooming. I immediately got involved with the finance team, and I'm now the chair of the finance committee. And I just love all of the options that I have here at UUCM for giving of my time. Not only do I run the finances for the church, I'm also involved in many other committees and small groups, and it just feeds my spirit so much. It's exactly what I need for my spirituality, because to me the most important thing is defining my own spirituality. And here at UUCM, I am able to do that. And it really has changed me over the years that I've been involved here. I think the best thing for spiritual growth is working with other people. And I have lots of opportunity to do that here. And I just love everybody at UUCM, even when I'm challenged, because I know it's always for the greater good, both for me personally and for UUCM as a community.
Thank you, Carol. Someone, as we were greeting each other this morning, noted that there seemed to be extra activity across the street at the Episcopal Church. Today, you may know, is known as Palm Sunday or Passion Sunday in some Christian traditions, marking the biblical story of Jesus' triumphal entrance to Jerusalem, with people giving him the royal treatment by placing clothing or branches on the ground in front of him as he traveled. Palms, the story says, and thus Palm Sunday. This is shortly before his trial and crucifixion, it is said, and so today is also known as Passion Sunday in some tradition. This day then marks the entrance to the final week of Lent, which are, is that for Lent or the finalness? This final week of Lent, which our UU tradition has never given much focus, since both Universalism and Unitarian were born out of that radical Protestantism, which was trying to get away from rituals which they saw as distracting. They saw as distracting from the word. It's the word, it's the written word that is what matters. But having grown up with Lent myself, having valued that deep introspection and soul searching that the 40 days of Lent invite, and with a symbol of the dark tomb in the Christian story, as well as the current world challenges in mind, I find myself thinking lately about the idea of the shadow in each of us. As we've heard so beautifully from Carol, that the parts of ourselves that we don't see or don't own for any number of reasons. Beatrice Chestnut has been informing my own understanding of the shadow most recently. And in case it's a new idea to you, the basic idea is that the way we perceive ourselves has this brightness to it that casts a shadow then behind us. A shadow that hides out of the light and out of our sight whatever doesn't fit our image of ourselves, whatever we can't or won't see or don't want others to see, though people often do see it. What's hiding out of sight there in the shadow are all the things that we are, but have no wish to be, as Carl Jung put it. All the things that we are, but have no wish to be. As you might expect, most things hidden in our shadow are things we perceive as negative or bad. Greed, anger, jealousy, impatience. But as Carol noted, our shadow can also hide aspects that are typically thought of as positive. Our power or our strength, for example, our intelligence, our talent or ability, whatever we have learned to perceive as unacceptable in us for some reason. The things that some part of us feels we aren't supposed to be, even though we are. The kicker is that the shadow is by nature unconscious because we don't see what we don't see and don't know what we don't know. In fact, when Carl Jung, who developed this notion of the shadow, was getting frustrated by people who were getting all caught up in trying to wordsmith the definition, he would say, look, the shadow is simply the whole unconscious. Now, I keep pointing out to myself as much as anyone that the spiritual journey, the life journey of any depth, is primarily a journey toward accepting oneself more and more and more completely. In essence, it's a gradual journey home. In terms of the shadow, it's a lifelong journey to see with a whole lot of compassion, and with help, what we don't see in ourselves. And then to keep integrating what we find there, to keep integrating what we find that we haven't seen. Facing what's in our shadow is demanding and often difficult work. As Jung put it, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, he goes on, is disagreeable, uncomfortable, and therefore not popular. The key shadow question for each of us is this: what do I need to face in myself now so that I can become more whole? What is it that I need to face in myself now so that I can become more whole? And the reasons to face such a demanding question are more than personal, because whatever we refuse to acknowledge about ourselves shows up in our living anyway, creating difficulties for us and often especially for the people around us. If I'm not aware of my own anger, for example, it will still find a way out, disguised perhaps as quiet frustration, or a cold shoulder silent treatment, or withdrawal, or a passive aggressive action, like saying yes when I really mean no. Or it might show up in my body as an illness or a pain. Plus, when we haven't seen or accepted and integrated something that's in our shadow, we will see that in other people. We'll project that onto other people, seeing that quality in them instead of us. In fact, we'll often be bothered by that quality when we see it in other people, which is one of the first clues that we might be encountering something that's hidden in our own shadow, when something in somebody else really bugs us. I'll see someone else's arrogance, for example, or desire to be in the spotlight, or take up space, or to go for exactly what they want. And I'll get either worked up or discouraged, maybe. Either way, my button gets pushed if I haven't realized and acknowledged and accepted that, I've got those same qualities or desires too. Plus, the more we're able to face our own shadow, the less likely we'll be triggered by someone who's projecting their shadow onto us. Someone projects their shadow onto us, sees something in us that's really in them, we'll be less triggered by it. In other words, this is a good thing if we can find our way to it. So with that brief intro, and to help us consider our own journeys, I invite Carol to share with us her reflection on the shadow.
As a child, I grew up in a family with traditional values that assigned the highest rewards to male progeny and considered women second class. During my early years, I heard my brother being praised, told he would be the only one going to college for there were limited funds, and watched him being showered with gifts and opportunities. As I experienced this in my childhood, I felt a lot of jealousy and anger. My eyebrows began to furrow, and the line down my forehead right here is a result to this day. Being deeply hurt, I tried to resolve the pain by being a perfectionist and a controller. But this childhood trauma festered as a shadow within. As I began to be an adult, I became an overachiever to match my brother's accomplishments, seeking comparable love from my father. I developed masculine qualities, unconsciously imagining I would gain my father's attention. If only I were a boy. I was building a false self and hid behind a mask of a girl who did well and aimed to please. Besides hiding my jealousy, I was also withholding my sensitivity, empathy, and self-care. This was exacerbated, for the boy in the family was not only my brother, but my beloved twin since birth, with whom I was entangled as we babbled our own language. How could we be of the same birth, blood, beginnings, and he was so favored? I questioned how and what I must do to receive similar love that he did. I began cheating and lying and stealing as a way to get attention. In my early 30s, this pain was unbearable. I could not relax in my true self to care for my unrecognized inner child and be loved and accepted for who I was. I wanted to divorce my family and my twin brother, imagining this would resolve the pain. I hid behind a mask for years, not wanting others to know my hurt fear, self-pity, and anger. I did not want to see or acknowledge my shadow. The darkness at this point was deep and intense, but a spiritual awakening embraced me. Somehow, the dark shadow land turned to the shadow land of grace, giving me strength to be self-critical, honest, and examining of the belief I had to be a boy. The pain of my shadow opened me in a new direction. I can say now the wounds were sacred wounds, for the depth of the pain has led to new feelings of compassion, empathy, and understanding. All is not entirely healed with my brother or my father. However, my brother led Jeff and I playing his bagpipes to our marriage ceremony 2 years ago, a gesture he initiated. My father has softened and now apologizes for some of his behaviors. I am realizing my twin is my reflection. As I love and adore him, I now love and adore myself. By being aware of my shadow, I am no longer driven by it. However, it is still present and always will be, and I grapple with it at highly emotional times. Certainly, this is a benefit from being older, for as I age, I'm softening and gaining the ability to recognize my shadows. Talking about shadows and the shaky territory within is part of discovering myself. Coming to terms with my shadow is hard and painful stuff, but has provided personal growth and enabled me to make stronger connections with myself, with others, in the spirit realm.
Beautiful, Carol, thank you. Awareness is always the starting place, right? Learning to become aware of that of which we're not aware. And one of the reasons we take time often to do a meditative moment in the service is to help cultivate our awareness, right? So that practicing any kind of awareness builds that muscle. So I invite you to become aware of you for a moment. I invite you to notice where your feet are, if you can feel your feet and have them. Notice your knees, your legs. Where are your arms and your hands right now? What do they feel like if you have feeling in them? What about your back, shoulders, your neck? What are you aware of there? What's your head? Your ears? Your chin? Your lips? Your nose? Your eyes? What do you hear right now? What do you taste right now? What do you smell? Do you feel the presence of someone near you? And what's going on inside your body? What do you notice? Where did your thoughts go just now? And what do you feel in your heart right now? I invite you to keep staying aware, bringing yourself back to awareness as many times as it requires. As we enter this ritual of acknowledging, of feeling, of noticing what we carry in our hearts. Maybe that today that is a tremendous joy. You've just gotten the greatest news. You're very happy about something. Maybe there's something that's just a little concerning, that's hard to get out of your mind and heart at the moment. Or maybe there's something that's painful in a way that's just opened you up and feels raw. Or so many other possibilities. For those on Zoom, I invite you to share in the chat something of what you carry, or simply to put a 0 or an O, the equivalent of placing a stone. It says, I don't want to spell it out, but I do want to acknowledge. If you're here in the room, there's a chance to come up front, take a stone from the table, and to place it in the bowl of water, a symbol of all that you're holding, and a symbol of all that holds you in the bowl. I invite us to stay aware and present to each other and to ourselves throughout this entire time. You into singing in my quiet sorrow. Toby, what number is that in the hymn books? 1006. 1006 in the Teal hymn book, since it's known. As Carol started to name, the reason that something gets hidden in our shadow in the first place is that hiding it there out of sight helps us survive a situation at the time. Sometimes this is to protect us from others who won't allow us to express certain parts of ourselves, our strength, our capacity, our vulnerability, our enthusiasm, or whose own shadow frightens or threatens us. Their volatile anger, perhaps. So we see that, oh, anger is not a good thing. I better not have it. Sometimes it's because one of our important needs is not being met, our need to be seen or comforted, for example. And the fact that that need is not being met is so painful to feel that we put the need itself out of sight, forgetting that it's there so that we won't have to hurt so much. Right? If it hurts not to get it, let me just take the need and remove that, and then I won't feel that. All of which means that becoming aware of what's in our shadow later is also painful, since it holds then not only that original hurt that we were feeling, but also all that we've missed out on or lost because we've hidden that part of us all this time. One of the reasons we don't see what's in our shadow is that we very naturally and instinctively and unconsciously defend against feeling that particular pain. In fact, when we're stressed or as we get closer to it, we often double down on our defensiveness, right? Making it even more difficult to see because it's a little too scary. It might hurt a little too much. So it gets harder as we get closer to it for a time. So here's a reminder that facing our shadow is work to be done with a lot of care and a whole lot of self-compassion and a whole lot of patience and with help. It's others who help us see what we don't see. In each of the Enneagram services throughout this year, what I'm trying to do in part in those is to surface those aspects of ourselves that we might not see. Planting, I hope, seeds for our awareness for when we're ready to water them. The Enneagram Insight doesn't tell us what's in our shadow, but it says, if you're a person who lives in these kinds of patterns with these kinds of motivations, you might consider looking over there. You might look over there to see what's hidden. So see if any of these offer glimpses for you. The 9 in us may not see our own anger, our own wants, our own desires, might not see the positive value of conflict, that conflict can actually be helpful, might not see the need for healthy boundaries or the value of discomfort, might not see our sadness related to a sense of not feeling like we belong. The 8 in us might not see our own vulnerability, our own limitations, our impact on other people, our vengeance, our belief that my truth is the truth, the lust for excess. The 7 in us might not see how focusing only on what's positive might be an unconscious way we're trying to avoid discomfort and pain. We might not see negative data that doesn't support our happy stance. We might fear our painful emotions. We might not see the downside of needing freedom from all limitations. We might not see our gluttony, our desire for more and more. The 6 in us might not see our fear and the way it drives our behavior. Might not see our own power and our own authority. Might not see what's working really well. Might not see what's not going wrong. Might not see the possibility of having faith and trust in others or in ourselves. The 5 in us might not see that our intellectualizing is actually a defense so we don't have to feel. Might not see the value of emotions and of engaging with others emotionally. Might not recognize that we actually already have plenty. might not see that relationships and connections can be a support of a source of support and of nourishment. The four in us might not see what's positive, right, in the here and now, might not see what's good and positive within us, might not see that we actually do matter, might not see that we envy other people, what they have. The three in us might not see our emotions at all, might not see our real self, might not see the downside of working hard and achieving success, might not see the value of slowing down and learning from failure, might not see our own self-deceit. The two in us might not see our own needs, our own feelings, our tendency to control others, to try to get what we want without having to ask and without risking rejection. Might not see how meeting others' needs is sometimes a means of getting something back. The one in us might not see our anger and how it gets repressed and how it leaks out. Might not see the impact of our self-criticism and our criticism of others. Might not see any of the emotions and impulses that we have judged as inappropriate for some reason. Might not see the downside of trying to be perfect. Might not see the need for relaxation and fun and pleasure. There are other possibilities, of course. Me, it's the anger piece. What anger? I'm not angry. I don't even realize I have it, right? Until it leaks out in some way. And my wants, that's the other thing that is deep in my shadow, what I actually want. It's not a resistance to consciously saying, I'm not gonna know what I want. I don't even know, right? Because it's so hidden. What do I want that's separate from what other people want? Those are a couple of my shadow edges. Anybody want to risk naming some of yours? Past or present?
I'm a Jew, I have no needs.
No needs. No needs. Control. Yeah. The not good enough. Recognition. The desire for recognition. Yeah. I see thoughtful people. So here's the thing, this is part of being human, right? It's not something wrong. It's the way we move through the world, right? To take care of ourselves. And this is work that doesn't come very early in the journey, typically. Carol alluded to that, right? It comes later in life, right? After some softening. This is not beginner's work, right? This is hard work that often comes later in the journey, and it's exactly to be expected. We all have things we've tucked there for good reason at some point, but the reason no longer exists and/or is now getting in our way. My invitation this Passion Sunday, in this brief introduction at the end of Lent, is for all of us to get gently and courageously and compassionately curious about ourselves. What's yet in your shadow? What pushes your button or gets your goat in other people? My invitation is to start with your next awareness, wherever you are on your journey. As I said, awareness is the entrance to all the rest. Not fixing it, right? The entrance is, oh, just noticing, being aware. So I invite us to get gently and very compassionately curious and maybe start with just the briefest of glimpses. Maybe that's what we've got in us, right? You don't need to dive in and drown, but a quick glance. So what's in your shadow? I want to close by pointing out that groups and cultures have their shadows too, and nations that they don't see or own, and that don't go away, but instead cause trouble. A group or a nation too can project its shadow onto some enemy and see only the negative qualities in that enemy. Projection, the source of so many conflicts. George William Russell was an Irish writer at the turn of the last century, and he wrote this, I think, in a really powerful way. He said, "By intensity of hatred, nations create in themselves the character that they imagine in their enemies." By intensity of hatred, nations create in themselves the character they imagine in their enemies. He goes on, "Hence it comes that all passionate conflicts result in an interchange of characteristics, right? Both projecting. We might say," he says, with truth, "those who hate open a door by which their enemies enter and make their own the secret places of the heart." I think, of course, of the political chasm in this country, of racism and so many other isms. As a nation, we are so unable to face and see and integrate. The US hides a lot in its shadow. We have a very positive image of ourselves, a very bright image of ourselves. I also think, of course, of Putin and Ukraine and authoritarian impulses anywhere. And of course, Israel and Gaza with their various layered ideologies and shadows. Too painful to face, but in fact, the key to their own wholeness. In our Unitarian Universalist Association's call for an immediate and complete ceasefire in Gaza, the provision of massive emergency humanitarian aid, and the safe return of all hostages and prisoners, our association leaders named that, quote, "Our living tradition has long maintained that the only hells that exist are those that we create for one another here on earth." Hells born of shadows, always. They call upon all of us to open our hearts and be present to the full depth of human suffering in this moment. To commit to identifying and mitigating the evils, the shadows of anti-Semitism, anti-Arabism, or Islamophobia. To recognize those and challenge them in our own tradition and wherever those toxic legacies exist. Our faith, they say, rejects all forms of nationalism and supremacy. More shadows, our own included. For the sake of the world, as well as our families, our circles of friends, and this community, we can start with the secret places of our own hearts, I suggest, where the keys to our wholeness might be hidden, right behind us. So may it be.
"25% of your offering this morning will support the Interfaith Food Ministry, which works to feed the hungry and reduce the food insecurity in Nevada County. Your gift also supports the efforts of our UU community. In fact, it's essential to sustain the work we do. If you want 100% of your gift to go to the Interfaith Food Ministry, place it in the white envelope in the basket as it passes. Thank you for your generosity. Please see this slide for ways to give by text, PayPal, UUCM website, or by mail. Thank you for your gifts. We dedicate these offerings to ensure no one will go hungry in our county and to strengthen the wonderful workings of our community. Thank you.
First of all, thank you to everyone who's here for the first time or second time, who braved entering a new building and a new community with which is always an unknown quantity at some level, right? No small thing. Thank you. Carol, thanks for a beautiful reflection and for being worship associate. Toby, lovely playing. Martha, thank you for working with refreshments today, among others. Thank you. Laura Harder and Jean Gilligan and Gwen, thank you for greeting so beautifully. Lindsay's not a reader, but she was working with our young ones for Kids Connection. And so Shannon Dooley Miller at the ready. So thank you, Jeff and Carol, for reading today. Cypress, operating in the back, and Steve Temple, thank you so much. That makes such a difference. Eileen, our chat host. Shanti added a little shadow to the Buddha today. Thank you, Shanti, for that and the beauty. A few things happening this week just to keep you in the loop. So there's a new art show in the library. Check it out today and for the next while. You can see it today, Eileen's art. Circle suppers, these are potluck dinners in people's homes. There are signups online. People have said it's super easy, and you can also see Lori, who's right in the back, who will be right there ready to help you with that after the service. This is truly fair trade coffee you can order. Email Lynn at coffee@ugrass Valley. Paul is leading the Jam Cafe once again. This is a play-along, sing-along, very fun and sort of a cafe atmosphere here on Thursday evening. Thank you, Paul, for doing that. Lots going on. Artists and crafters, there's going to be an arts and crafts fair June 8th. Hoping you'll participate. I know Janet's working with that here, so, and there's also, you can email Art Fair at the UU. And thank you to everyone who's been pledging. The goal is to finish that process by next Sunday. So if you haven't met with your person or haven't pledged yet, you can do that easily online now. Next Sunday, we'll have a worship brainstorming on the theme of renewal, our last one for a while after the service. Come and just no other obligation other than to come and brainstorm together. And as always, check out the website and the newsletters for much more of what's going on. I invite us to close with this very familiar song, How Can I Keep From Singing, right? So in the midst of all the shadows, our own and others, and all the ways they're playing out, we continue to sing. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, finally, and to sing. Beatrice Chestnut says that when we face in ourselves what we need to face to become more whole, in other words, when we become more conscious, then we become a beacon of light in the world. When we do that, each and together, may we be a beacon of light to face the world's shadows, a beacon of warmth to face the world's coldness, a beacon of courage to face the world's terrors, a beacon of peace to face the world's turmoil, a beacon of love above all, awake, aware, eyes open, pragmatic, courageous, compassionate love. So may we be. And let's remind ourselves that we're here for just this work. We will extinguish the chalice, but with these words, we will together carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Please join us for refreshments. You sound especially good singing today, I want to point out. And we'll see you next Sunday for Easter and an Alleluia service.